Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host, the expert Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 251. Hope you're amazing as always. I really do. Do you know what? Today, it's just a 10-minute tune-up. We might go a little bit longer than 10 minutes, but if you want to do a full episode, definitely go and check the previous episode out, 250. Had amazing feedback about it. Do you know what? I don't know if I've ever actually put a private session on the podcast before. So if you want to know what it's like to work with me in a real estate capacity, then that's a tiny little glimpse. We give you a little 1% glimpse at what it's like. So definitely go and check that episode out. We go into trance at the end. I do a big hypnosis session. It's brilliant. So definitely go and check that out. I also recorded an episode previous this week. So this is a Friday today. We're on Friday, the 25th of October. I actually recorded earlier in the week, but for some awesome reason, it didn't take. The recording all messed up. So I still wanted to get one out for you this week. So here you go, right? So seeing as it's a 10-minute podcast, a 10-minute tune-up, best get on with it, eh? Today we're going to show you two little clips. We'll see if we get to the second. I think we probably will. It's only a few minutes long. The first one is a little clip from Joe Rogan podcast, which you gather I've followed this guy for way over 10 years, actually probably close to 15. I've grown and I love the guests that he brings on. And it is the biggest podcast in the world. It's 200 million downloads a month. Think about that, right? Think about that. Quite powerful. So what Christopher Ryan talks about on this episode on this clip is about the placebo effect and about us really changing and evolving under extreme pressure or circumstances, and also how the power of our mind to be able to truly change who we are. So that's the first little clip. We probably won't play it all, but it's really cool. It's quite fascinating. The second clip, it's an interview, but it's talking about Jay-Z. And it's a Hollywood producer talking about Jay-Z. And him actually, the American Gangster, Jay-Z did the music for it. But it wasn't as simple as that. And you're going to find out very, very quickly the level of Jay-Z's thinking. And I want you to, as you're going through these, I want you to think about things in your own life. Whether you're going through a growth spurt in business or life, or whether you're in a big dip right now, well, that's okay, right? Because the point is, as an entrepreneur and in life, we've all been there, right? It doesn't really matter where you are right now, high or low. We've all been there. And as an entrepreneur especially, we take such big, calculated, intuitive, but we take risks, right? So guess what? Confusion, listen carefully, confusion leads to what? It leads to clarity. So if you're confused about a business concept, where to go, if someone's let you down, if you're looking at different income streams, if you're just looking at what direction to go, or even if you're sitting here listening to this thinking about starting a business, everything begins in your imagination. Everything begins in the unconscious mind, the conscious mind, and you want to go there, the superconscious mind, right? The universe, frequency. And I believe we can tap into it all, not just using the concepts from neuro-linguistic programming, which I'm a world-class expert at, or neuroscience gamification, or we're dealing with behavioral psychology or anything, right? I really believe that we are more powerful than what we can comprehend. That's why some people are begging for dollars, and some people, well, we don't know who they are, but they're probably trillionaires, not billion, trillionaires, you know? So there's such a different level of life. But those people are living life right here and now. So my point is, why can't you achieve anything that you want to achieve? And it doesn't matter if you're heading towards $1 billion or $1 trillion. Not my interest, right? But whatever yours is, understand that you can build your brain, which makes you into a high performer, which means what? Yeah, you're going to drive faster and faster towards what you really want to do in life and accomplish. So if you are a high performer and you're kicking ass and expanding, then hit those show notes up and let's chat. Let's work out what product, system, package, or group is right for you to make sure that your mind is so strong as you're going into this next stage of your business. If you are a high performer and you have dipped, but you know you're a badass, you know you're a rock star, and you want to not just only build your business and income and results back to where you were, but this time take it to a whole new level that you know you are capable of. Any of those two things, guess what? Hit me up. You're going to talk to me or one of my coaches, and we're going to work out what the right fit for you is. Just like I've done for tens of thousands of clients and some of the best in the world. And I want to do it for you. So hit those show notes up and make sure you're connected with me on Instagram, LinkedIn, the Facebook Incubator group, and everywhere I'm doing awesome stuff. Because I want to do awesome stuff with you. So speaking of awesome stuff, hit those show notes up and let's jump into these two little clips.
We also know how to measure placebo.
Right.
And we don't know how the fuck that works. We know that hypnosis, people can have open heart surgery under hypnosis or have limbs amputated or all sorts of amazing things with no anesthesia whatsoever.
Has that really been done?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever been hypnotized?
Yeah. But I don't have high hypnotic ability. That differs. It's another thing that differs among people. And Stanley actually has a really interesting theory along those lines, which is that in prehistoric populations, hypnotic ability would be adaptive because a lot of the healing rituals were keying into placebo response. So if we have a certain ritual, if you're susceptible to, you believe in that, like voodoo, there's a, voodoo death. People die when a spell is cast or a curse because they believe it. If you don't believe it, it doesn't happen. So it happens the opposite direction as well with healing. So his idea is that would have been a very adaptive characteristic in prehistoric societies, whereas in contemporary societies it's maladaptive because you're more susceptible to advertising or you're easier to manipulate. Yeah. So I've when I was in grad school, I had some professors who worked with hypnosis, and I studied it a bit around the same time I was looking at multiple personality disorder, because I was real interested in this question of how the brain and the body interact, how much of, there's all this research showing that people with the same condition in hospitals, exactly the same age, same prognosis and all that, they heal significantly faster if their hospital window looks out on trees as opposed to looks out at another building. Something like that. Just looking at something like nature keys the body into some sort of energy that helps it to heal.
Completely makes sense. I've met people with multiple personalities. Well, Roseanne's got, doesn't she? Make sure that's true. I know another one that's a weird one is the football player Herschel Walker. I think he had trauma-induced multiple personality disorders.
Wow.
Does she?
There's articles that says like Bill Maher reminds us she does, and then Roseanne says she doesn't. So,
yeah, I think.
And then the
she
2001
does.
says having seven personalities is tough. Her saying it, so
yeah. Well, here's the thing about Roseanne. I mean, I'm saying this for the 10th time, I guess. She was hit by a car when she was 15, and she was put in a mental institute for 9 months afterwards. She had severe brain damage. and she lost her ability to do mathematics and like really scrambled her brain. And that is probably the birth of the Roseanne that we know, the comedian. And that's also the case with Sam Kinison. Sam Kinison was also like a pretty normal kid, and then he was hit by a car and, you know, pretty severe brain damage as well. And brain damage for especially apparently it especially has an impact on your ability to be rational and impulsive behavior. Like people with brain damage a lot of times get very impulsive. It varies so widely.
Yeah.
You know, it's what happens to you dependent upon like what kind of trauma, where the trauma is, what part of your brain. But when they said it about Herschel Walker, I was always confused. I wonder if it was from football, like football trauma, or was it personal trauma, like, you know, abuse?
Yeah, people that are diagnosed with multiple personality disorder, if I remember correctly, almost always were severely abused as kids. You know, and in fact, the rationale is that they develop the alternate personalities as a way of escaping a reality that's intolerable.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, people do weird things with horrible memories. You know, they bury them to the point where they don't even really have access to them anymore.
Yeah.
Sexual abuse and some traumatic events when you're young.
Yeah.
But the fucking human brain, then the way it adapts and molds to things is so bizarre.
Yeah, there's an anecdote that is in this book, Civilized to Death. Notice that segue.
Ooh, good segue
Yeah,
to the
thank
book. Pull that bitch over here.
Yeah. It's by the way, the art is done by a guy who listens to my podcast. It's really.
It looks like the art by a guy who listens to your podcast. A chimp wearing a cheeseburger with a nice suit on.
Yeah, he's got an iPhone. The story. So there's a species of grasshopper in North Africa that they hang out. They're grasshoppers. They're dispersed. They eat grass. They chill. Right. Rains come. The grasslands expand. Grasshopper population increases. Then the rains stop. The grasslands contract to the point where the density of the grasshoppers triggers dormant genes. So there's an epigenetic event in these grasshoppers, and they start to transform, and not over generations, individuals. Front legs get shorter, back legs get longer, thorax changes, shape of the head changes, coloring changes, and behavior changes from being these chilled out, solitary, relaxed grasshoppers. They start attacking each other. They become cannibalistic.
Whoa.
And they swarm. Locusts. Exactly. Yeah. They become locusts.
Yeah.
So this species of grasshopper and locust is the same species. It's the same DNA. It's just responding to different conditions. So, we're talking about the brain and who you are and what identity is and all that. And I was reminded of this when you said, people are so different. And the H2O thing. Yeah. We're not only different as individuals in the same context, we change completely given the context we're in.
Yeah.
So the focus of this book is that hunter-gatherers were essentially a different sort of animal. They were essentially, the parallel is with the grasshoppers, and now we're swarming.
Yeah.
Now we're a different kind of animal, even though our DNA is the same.
Well, that completely makes sense. I mean, people that live in small towns are so different than people that live in cities.
Yeah.
It's so rare that you find someone who has a small town sensibility in Manhattan.
Crew, definitely go and check out episode 237 because it's all about how the noise, and if you live in a city, is affecting your brain and your nervous system and your performance. So go and check that out, 237.
And it's interesting to think about the state of consciousness and how that affects allergies, because apparently, and again, I'm always cautious about saying shit on the show because there's so many people listening. So caveat, it's been a long time since I read the research, but if I remember correctly, under hypnosis, a lot of people with allergies no longer. In fact, I remember the research. Yeah, it was a setup where the person could see. So like you and I are talking across the table and there's a mirror behind me, and in the mirror, in your peripheral vision, you see roses, and you're allergic to roses. You'll have a reaction, even though they're plastic roses. Oh. So it sort of enters the consciousness and triggers the response subconsciously. Yeah, if I think that's how it was. And then with people under hypnosis, like Andrew Weil wrote about this, cat allergies. He was tripping. He was on MDMA, I think, and he was playing with a cat and had no reaction to it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at this. Self-hypnosis squelches allergies.
I need a Jamie in my life.
You do.
Damn.
Picturing ski slopes reduces hay fever symptoms by a third.
Look at that.
Picturing ski slopes. How weird. What a weird. I'm skiing.
Well, because you're picturing a place where there's no pollen.
Right.
Right? You could probably picture the surface of Mars, too.
Yeah, well, if you've got a needle, like you get a shot and the doctor's about to give you the shot and you start like tensing up, like you feel this like the anticipation. It makes it like your heart starts quickening and you get like really weirded out by it. But then you get the shot and you're like, oh, that wasn't shit. Like, why was I freaking out like that? But it's the psychosomatic aspect of it.
I think that's what life is, basically, in a nutshell.
Yeah,
in a nutshell.
It's an analogy.
Like, we're always worried about things. We spend so much time worrying about things, most of which never occur.
Yeah.
So, crew, there we go. There's the end of episode 251. The idea with this is to just give you a little bit more of an insight into the power of you, the power of your brain, the power of your nervous system, the power of, well, being able to control it. And what I talk about with hypnosis, I've done hypnosis for, going on for 13, 14 years now. And I've been able to help people get over the most incredible things or get people ready for the most incredible things. It truly shows me over the years, like I've been able to get someone over a rape and in that they'd been traumatized for like 20 odd years, and I did it in 1 or 2 sessions. And that's not because I'm brilliant. It's because they were ready, right? And open to that change, and their intention was to drive forwards. And that's what people hear the word hypnosis and they just don't understand it. And they think you're going to run around as a chicken on stage. Well, you can run around as a chicken on stage if you want, but I prefer to make you brilliant. And when we start to understand these things, it really opens us up to the possibility of what we can truly create in our life. And that's what this episode was about. So you go and have a beautiful day. Much, much love. Hit those show notes up, whatever level of the game you're at. Let's connect and let me take you to the next level above it. So until then, have an amazing week. And oh yeah, one more thing. Why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.